Okay, I guess I can tone that down or switch it off completely. Okay, that's better. So, hello and welcome to the fourth episode in the second series of videos where I document my journey to port my very first 8-bit retro game that I originally developed for the Sinclair ZX81, now to the Commodore VIC-20. So, the end of the previous video, I had ported the entire intro and exposition and a lot of the underlying engine as well that made it run. And by now, I have ported all the dialogue and story logic. So all three successful paths and all paths to failure and game over are now implemented. And it went, I would say, rather uneventful. So I think the heavy lifting was done when building the sort of engine to make the intro and exposition work. And here it was mainly filling the data at the end with the dialogues and then to write the story logic, sometimes to disentangle things or to write around some quirks of Commodore BASIC, but nothing really special. I also found a few sort of bugs in the original code that don't really affect anything. So there was one line for a ghost sub that doesn't actually exist, but Sinclair BASIC helpfully jumped to the next line available, so that didn't matter. I also have a few lines of superfluous code in the ZX81, so I might be able to reduce the memory footprint there by a few bytes. I also came across a sort of plot hole, so that you could transport without having done a scan first, so you wouldn't have any idea who's on the other ship. So I'm not sure I'll be able to squeeze that into the ZX81 logic in a version 1.1, but I'll try with everything that I've found with superfluous returns or other things that were redundant in the ZX81 code. You've also heard the first enhancement. So there is sound from the red alert klaxon, and also all these menu buttons have sound. And so similar to the buttons on the series of the original Star Trek Bridge, where they had these sort of beeps as well. So I've put that in here as well. And yeah, so I think now I'm in the sort of late sort of beta stage where I have to test that everything still works and that I dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's, metaphorically speaking. And otherwise, yep, this would be then good to go. Memory-wise, I still have 4K left, so with a 16K expansion. So I'm, if this were a sort of cartridge game, then I would be within the 16K. But I'll keep it on tape for downloads again to stay in what would have been realistic in 1982. One main difference is that now I have a lot more stuff to track in terms of line numbers, where all the bits and pieces of story logic ended up that were on the ZX81 version, sort of mixed in with the dialogue, and now with the separation that I talked about in the last video. So to have all the dialogue in data lines at the very end. And then where I can indicate jump destinations to execute story logic either before the dialogue line is shown or after the dialogue line is shown. That I have now a set of post-its on top of my existing documentation where I keep a sort of track on all these jump destinations. So overall 13 jump destinations before any dialogue lines, 5 afterwards, and 3 choices as part of the main game dialogues on the most dialogue heavy part to victory. But I think it also made it very easy just to add more dialogue by simply having one data line for that and not to actually write sort of actual code and trying to squeeze all the dialogue into the different brackets for the code that it still fits with the line numbers and not having to use subsequent line numbers, but rather 5 or 10, ideally as it was on the ZX81. So to conclude, I think I'll treat you to one of the game overs with one of the new sound effects. So the phasers, and for that I first have to transfer power to the phasers through the damage report from the engineer. and then I can create the game over by firing the phasers at the other ship, which still has the shields up. Don't think there's a big spoiler here. So that didn't work, and now the retaliation. So, and that's the game over. So where another ship makes a log entry, so that's an inverted yellow to indicate this is nothing we've ever seen before, but that's another ship. And yeah. So it starts with the 4 notes of the original Star Trek theme, at least as far as I could find them, and I convert them to the VIC-20 sound, and now we get a much lower version of that for the game over. And I think that's the extent I'll have music in this game. So I think there will be one more post here about the finals of polish and what the box art will look like, and the instructions will also have to change, I suppose, from the VIC from the ZX version. And otherwise, yeah, hope this again was interesting. And once the game is released, I'll post a link to it in the playlist description. And until then, thank you for watching.